Today I'm showing you exactly step by step how I put makeup on my very mature over 50 skin. That's coming up next. Welcome in, I'm Kimberly. This is Pretty Over 50 where we talk everything makeup, skincare, and style for the over 50 woman. Today I'll be doing a step-by-step process of exactly how I put makeup on my very mature skin. If you're new here, a very special welcome to you. I hope you'll consider subscribing and make sure you click that notification bell so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. And if you're interested in more makeup, skincare, and style for the over 50 woman, stop by prettyover50.com. There's a lot more great information just waiting for you there. One of you left me a message on Instagram, and if you're not following me on Instagram, come on over there. It's kind of a party, but keep your expectations really low because I totally suck at Instagram. But I'd love to have you join me there because some things happen on Instagram that don't happen here on YouTube. I'm Pretty Over 50 at Instagram. Come on over, it's a good time. One of you left a message, and I think it's from DeLeanne85. I would like to know what your top 5 foundations are, as well as what primers you think work best under each one. I can't seem to get that glow. Here's what got me thinking. I don't think it's my primers and foundation that give a glow to my skin. I think it's other steps that I've learned to add to my makeup routine that kind of creates the look of a glowy complexion. Things are so different in my makeup life right now than they were when I was in my 20s, 30s, and even 40s. I've really had to kind of change things up to work with my more mature skin. That comment inspired this video. So today I'm going to be walking you through an entire face of makeup, and I'm going to be explaining exactly why I'm doing what I'm doing and how I'm doing it a little bit different to address my more mature skin. All the products that I'll be using today are very affordable, very easy to find, drugstore products. So this should make it very easy for you to follow along. As always, all the products that I use and mention today will be listed and linked below, and they'll also be over on the blog, so super easy for you to find. And with that, let's get into Makeup 101. I've done all my morning skincare, which includes my serums and my moisturizers and of course my sunscreen. And I always like to wait at least 20 to 30 minutes after I do my morning skincare to start with my makeup to let everything sink in and so that I have a nice canvas to work with. One of the first things that I do when I sit down to do my makeup is put something on my lips so that my lips get hydrated while I'm doing my makeup. You could do this with chapstick or any kind of lip balm. I've been using the City Lips. This is their clear lip plumping gloss. And I find that it just seems to give my lips a little bit more volume and make the lines a little softer in my lips. I'll leave this on my lips while I'm doing my makeup, and then I wipe it off before I put my lipstick on. So it has a chance to sink into my lips, give me some hydration, and hopefully plump my lips up a little bit while I'm doing my makeup. The next thing I like to do is address my eyebrows. What happens for me when I put my skincare on in the morning is a lot of it gets caught in my eyebrows, and I do wipe my eyebrows down, but there's some residual skincare in between all those hairs. So I'll take my Rimmel Stay Matte Powder, and this little brush that is from Perfusion, I've just dedicated it for this purpose, and run that brush in there, and then I'll just run that over my eyebrows to kind of soak up the rest of that skincare, making it much easier for my eyebrow pencil to go on when I'm doing my eyebrows. The next step for me is to add primers, and I use both a face primer and an eyelid primer. Really, my favorite primer probably is the Milani eyeshadow primer. This is super affordable. You can get it at the drugstore. It works wonderfully. I just put a tiny amount on my finger, tap it in between my 2 ring fingers, and then right onto the eyelids. And I like to make sure that I cover that entire eyelid, in particular this area right in the middle, because that's where my eyeshadow kind of seems to break up because that area is so wrinkly and crinkly. Next is face primer, and today I'm going to be using the Hard Candy Smoothing Primer Balm. I really like this primer. It's such a great affordable drugstore choice. For me, it's a creamier version of the e.l.f. Putty Primer, and I really enjoy it. Just put a little bit on my finger, and then I just sort of spread that over the center part of my face where I seem to have the most texture. And I always like to make sure that I get it underneath my eyes to help my concealer stay put throughout the day. While both those primers are setting down and drying, this is generally when I do my eyebrows. I love this Wet n Wild retractable brow pencil. It is so inexpensive and so very good. I have used so many higher end products, don't like them nearly as well as this one. It has one of those really cool shapes where it's skinny on one side and fat on the other. What that does for me is it makes it really easy for me to fill in my brows very quickly. I always like to start on my brows at the bottom and just define that bottom line. And once I have that worked in, then I can take that fatter edge and just go ahead and quickly fill in my brow area. Now that I have my brows done for now, I always touch them up at the end of my makeup, and I'll show you how I do that when we're all done. I'm going to go in with eyeshadow. The reason I do my eyeshadow now is because if there's any fallout from the shadow that goes on my lids, I don't want it to mess up any foundation. So I generally do my eyes first to avoid that. Today I'm using the Milani Bold Obsessions palette. This is such a good palette. It's been around for a long time. It has a beautiful color selection and it's really affordable. The last time I checked, it was on sale on the Milani site, I think for under $10. So it's a great value at that price. I'm going to take a fluffy brush, dip it into this color right here, and just work that into the transition area on my eyelid. When I place the transition color on my eyelids, I always place it above my natural crease so that it looks like I have more real estate on my eyelids. So I'm just going to place it right up here. And what that's going to do is that's just going to create a softened color area for the rest of our shadow to blend in very smoothly on the lid. Now I'm going to take that same brush and dip into this kind of taupey shimmer, and that's going to go over all the movable lid and up into that crease color. Now I'm going to take a blending brush and just blend that all in so the color is very sheer and very subtle. Now I'm going to take a smaller detail brush, dip it into this cream color right here at the top, and that's going to go right underneath my eyebrows to highlight that brow bone area. So I'm just going to very subtly highlight that area. And you can see what a difference it makes in that brow bone highlight from this eye that has the highlight to this eye that doesn't. Next, I'm going to move on to complexion. Today I'm going to be using the Covergirl plus Olay Advanced Radiance Foundation. This is such a good foundation. It doesn't get much love and it's a very affordable drugstore option. I love it. The formula itself comes out a little bit moussey. You can see it right here. When it goes on the skin, it feels very light. I like to just dab a little bit of the foundation around my skin, really keeping it more towards the center of my face because I'm going to want to blend that foundation towards the outside edges. And as I blend it out, I want it to get thinner and sheerer. Next, I like to blend my foundation in with a brush and just smooth it all over my skin and then blend it out towards the edges in a sheerer layer. Once I have that foundation all spread around with the brush, I like to go in with a dampened beauty blender and just tap it out because the finish the beauty blender puts on the foundation is so pretty. It just looks soft and subtle and very skin-like. Next is under eye concealer. Today I'm going to be using the JOA Truly Yours Dark Circle Concealer, and this is in the color Brightener. This is another great drugstore find. Super affordable, and I really like this formula. It actually came with one of those rubber tips. I don't like those rubber tips. I just pulled it off. So I just take the product directly from the tube when you twist it up at the bottom. I like to get just a little bit on my finger, tap it in between both fingers, and then place it underneath the eyes. And when I do that, I want to keep it a little bit lower than where my eyelid meets my eye, so the concealer will move up in a sheerer layer as it goes more towards the eyelash area of my eye. So I'm just going to tap that with my fingers to blend it out. And once I have it placed, I like to go back in with that same beauty blender and really work it into that under eye area. Because my under eye area is so textured and wrinkly, I have found that the less concealer I can use, the better. So it's kind of a fine line between enough to cover up the dark circles, but not so much that it really enhances the texture underneath my eyes. If you struggle with under eye concealer, I have done a couple of videos on how I've learned to work with it to make it look a little bit better. I'll go ahead and list them up here, and if you're interested, you can check those out. To set my under eyes, I'm going to be using the number 7 Lift and Illuminate powder. This is a beautiful light powder, very finely milled. If you're worried about putting powder underneath your eyes, I can tell you that for me, it really does help my concealer set down and stay and not crease. This is a very, very fine powder, so putting a very little underneath my eyes does help that concealer to stay put without adding more texture to my under eyes. I like to use a very, very soft brush. I just get a little bit on, tap it off, and then just very gently place that underneath my eyes. Then I go back in with that beauty blender and really just tap that out so that the concealer and the powder mix together and create a very, very thin layer underneath my eyes. Next up is bronzer. And I know that we didn't have bronzer when we were younger, but I am loving having bronzer now. What a good bronzer will do is really add definition to your face and create light and shadow and really create some nice definition on your face. To illustrate what a good bronzer can do, I'm just going to bronze one side of my face and we'll look at the difference. This is the L'Oreal Lumi Bronzer, another great drugstore product. I'm going to get a little bit on my e.l.f. tapered brush. The reason I like this brush so much for bronzer is it has that tapered tip so I can get in more detail area, and then it's fluffier towards the base so that I can then blend the bronzer out with this same brush. Now that I have that bronzer loaded up on my brush, I'm going to go ahead and just start placing it in the areas that I want to define. And you can see right here how much more defined this side of my face looks compared to this side. I like to cut in the cheekbone area, put some underneath my chin to help my chin look a little bit firmer, and then also around my hairline to give me more definition in that area. And you can watch as I bronze this area of my forehead, it really does make my forehead look like it has more of a shape and is a little less broad and high. Next up is blush, and I'm going to be using the L'Oreal Age Perfect Radiant Satin Blush, and this is in the color Peony. I'm going to load my brush up with that blush, and where I'm going to place it is what I call the upstairs area of my cheek. When I was younger, I used to put it on the apple of my cheek, but now the apple of my cheek is much lower when I'm not smiling. So I've learned to place my blush a little bit higher up on my cheekbone to give my face a look of being lifted. So I start in this area right here, not on the apple of my cheek, but right up above it, and just place the blush all the way up almost into the hairline. Now I'm going to take a big fluffy brush and I'm going to blend that blush in so it's a smooth transition on that upstairs area of my cheek. And you can see that blush placement has really lifted that area of my face. Now it's time for highlighter. Today I'm going to be using the Wet n Wild Precious Petals highlighter. This is such a pretty highlighter at a great drugstore price. If you haven't ventured into highlighter, I can tell you it's really fun and really gives a pretty look on the skin. Today I'm going to show you exactly how I put on my highlighter to make it work for my face. Get a little bit of product on my brush. Where I'm going to place it is right over that area at the very top of where I just placed that blush. I'm also going to use a little bit on the front of my cheeks, and you're going to be surprised at how much more volume my cheeks look like they have once I have that highlighter on. So I'm going to do just one side and we can look at the difference between the two. So now you can see the difference in the glow on this side of my face and not so much glow on this side. This side really creates some volume and lift in the cheek area, and we don't have that same lift over here. Isn't that just the prettiest little glow? And I always like to put some on the tip of my nose. I don't know why, it just seems fun. Then I go back in with that same big fluffy brush and I just blend that in. The next step in complexion is a product that I absolutely love, and it does something very different than I've ever found any other product to do. This is the Prep, Set, and Glow from Milani. They do have another powder that's called Prep, Set, and Go. This is Prep, Set, and Glow. This is a finishing powder, and you can see how much I've loved it. It's almost empty. This adds such a beautiful, light, glowy finish to the skin. It is so pretty. I just take a big fluffy brush, swirl it around in here, and very gently just dust that over my skin. And you can see just what a beautiful, soft, subtle glow that creates. Before I finish off the eyes, I'm going to use a setting spray. This is the Hydrate and Fix from Revolution. I'm going to be adding eyeliner on both the lash line and the waterline. Today I'm going to be using the Essence Extreme Lasting Waterproof Liner. The first thing I'm going to do is run this along my lash line, and I'm not going to really worry about getting a perfect line because I can't. My skin there is very, very textured. I do just want to get the color along that lash line, and then I'm going to go in with a brush and buff that out. So it's just a dark area along my lash line, and I don't have to worry about that line being perfect. I have that liner worked along both lash lines. Now I'm going to take a thin angled brush, and I'm just going to smudge that line out, keeping that darkness there, but not having to worry about that line being perfect. And you can see right here how pretty that looks along the lash line. Now I'm going to take that same pencil and I'm going to tightline with it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up underneath my upper lashes and really fill in the base of those lashes right along the roots. I'm not so much wanting to get it on the skin, I'm wanting to get it in between each of those lashes to really darken up that area at the base of my lashes. I'm just going to run that right underneath my lash line. And you can see what a difference it makes between this eye and this eye with the tight lining and this eye without. Next, I'm going to curl my lashes and add mascara. The mascara I use today is the L'Oreal Age Perfect Mascara. This really does lengthen and volumize my lashes. Now that most of my makeup is all done, I like to go back in and do some finishing touches on my brows. I find that putting my foundation on and working with the brushes around my face sometimes will disrupt the work I did on my brows earlier, so I like to go back in and just touch up a few areas. For this, I use the LA Girl Shady Slim Pencil, and I like it because that tip is so very tiny. What I'll do now is I will address the bottoms of my brows, and then I'll pull out this end or tip of my brow so that it creates more length there. And when I draw that line, I don't necessarily want to draw it down, which would bring my eye down. I want to create more of a horizontal line with that brow tip. So I'll just take that along the base and then pull that out more towards the side so that it helps to lift my eye up. Now it's time for lip liner and lipstick. The first thing I'm going to do is take off that lip gloss that I put on earlier. Today I'm going to be using the NYX lip pencil in Caviar and the Maybelline lipstick Endearingly Nude. With my lip liner, I always like to overdraw my lips a little bit. And what I mean by that is I like to draw outside that vermilion line around my lips. If you want to find out exactly how I do this, I did a little video on how I create a little bit bigger lip, and I'll have it linked right up here. And once I have that lip liner on, I always like to just sort of smudge it out so the line is not real distinct. Here we have the finished look. I hope you enjoyed watching me put together a full face of makeup on my very mature over 50 skin. For me, it's definitely been a journey to figure out how to put makeup on these days compared to what I did when I was in my 20s, 30s, and even 40s. I hope you found this useful, fun, and helpful. If you did, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, make sure you smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. And if you're interested in more makeup, skincare, and style for the over 50 woman, stop by prettyover50.com. There's a lot more great information just waiting for you there. You guys know it just makes my day when you take a few minutes out of your day to spend it with me. I appreciate that, and I appreciate you. Again, I'm Kimberly. This is Pretty Over 50, where we talk everything makeup, skincare, and style for the over 50 woman. Make it a great day. Wear your sunscreen and all. See you in the next video. Bye now.